So, today's video is going to be something of a challenge to do because I've been watching a certain topic develop since I did a few videos on the ship quite some time ago. Um, I've been watching the topic of luxury ships and the community's reaction uh, to luxury ships. And I've wanted to talk about this for a while, and I've kind of, you know, I think on a few ship updates I've kind of made reference to it, and I think on a couple of piracy shows I did as well, but I never really dug into it all that much. And it's a very difficult topic to discuss, luxury ships, because if you want to talk about it realistically, there's kind of a fair to strong chance that you're going to crush somebody's dreams. So, luxury ships in Star Citizen. We're primarily going to focus on the 600i and the Phoenix because, you know, obviously 890 jump, not flyable right now, so we haven't really seen it. But what's the point? What's the point of these ships? Well, let's say that you're a fairly successful businessman or business person in the Star Citizen universe, and you own multiple, let's say, refinery operations in and around Crusader. You got a refinery that does very well for you on Daymar, another refinery on Yela, another refinery on Chelon, another refinery out on Delamar. You're doing pretty good for yourself, right? And so you want to go and you want to visit your businesses and make sure that everything's running smoothly. So as your personal transport around the universe, you've bought yourself this, right? You've bought yourself this ship. This is your way of getting around the universe in style, you know, showing off that you are successful in the Star Citizen universe, that you've been making the sweet bucks. And when you look at it from that point of view, you go, okay, okay, I can kind of see it. It makes sense to me. It's practical. I get it. Now, for other people, you know, who are looking at this ship and they're looking at it and saying, like, what's the career of owning this ship? And it's like, VIP transport missions. What does that entail? Well, we haven't really designed it yet, so we're not really going to tell you all that much, but VIP transport missions. Do you have high-end liqueurs at their disposal? And, you know, do you have all the latest vids on your system to show them, to make them happy? Something like that, but we're not really telling you all that much. And I think that there are people who are kind of going in with the VIP mission, VIP transport mission thing, and with that as their primary focus, and now they're starting to realize that with these ships in game, that they are dead ships because that system isn't in the game. It's like the Reclaimer, it's like the Herald, dead ships. They're great, they look cool, but what do? Well, right now, not all that much, and what little they can do in the universe, they don't really do it all that well because you can't really use them to haul cargo with any level of efficiency. It'd be like trying to haul cargo in a Reclaimer. Yeah, the Reclaimer's got a cargo bay, but it's not primarily built around that, and it's kind of big and slow, so it's easier to just use a Caterpillar, which costs less and carries more, right? Now, I have seen the videos of an architect reviews the 600i, an architect reviews the Connie Phoenix. I even saw the architect reviews the Hammerhead, and I had to check the dates on that one. That one, okay, so this was after when I was talking about the Hammerhead, because he reinforced some of the points that I was making in regards to that, and I was like, well, shit, there's an actual professional opinion that reinforces what I had said, and I'm just an amateur. So I was like, sweet. But You know, he's talking about the flow of all the different interior spaces and how this breaks up that, and, you know, different lighting. You know, here's the good stuff, here's the bad stuff. Things that I realized very quickly as I was watching the video. It's like, okay, yeah, I can kind of see what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't have an eye for these things. You know, it's like, oh, is that teak flooring? My, you know, Ooh, you're classy. No, you know, it's like, it's things that I don't see. It's like, you know, if you're sitting there and it's like, oh, I have a lovely bay window that I can sit at and sip champagne. Classy, you know, like it's just not, you know, things that I'm concerned with. And I think that a lot of people out there, and once again, I have no metrics to support this. This is all just my opinion. But there are a lot of people out there who bought these ships because they're flashy ships, because they look really cool and they look really, you know, like high end, but they didn't really kind of get to the point of asking the real question, which is, what do they do? You know, and is it really going to be all that rewarding? Now, in the beginning, I kind of outlined the idea of you're going around, you're checking your operations, you're a very successful business person, and and so you're traveling in a vehicle befitting your station, you know, befitting your level of success. You know, like, I am so successful at my operations that I have now graduated to this ship as my personal transport. It doesn't have to be practical because I can afford to not be practical because I am so successful and I am so good at what I'm doing. The question is, I think that there's a lot of people who kind of bought the ship with that kind of mentality in mind, but the problem is they never really sat down and thought about, how am I going to put things in place in the universe to make sure that I am at that point, you know, where this becomes justifiable, right? Someone like me would kind of look at it and say, you know, shit, that's almost 2 caterpillars. Why not just get the 2 caterpillars and just, you know, start up a transport operation and scoop up some people who maybe don't have the means to get ships like that, and kind of work together to build up that business and get people who are, you know, they're going to help me push that idea forward. As long as I reward them well and treat them well, who are going to, you know, help propel me to a point where a ship like this becomes justified. You know, that's my concern, because I always look at things from a practical point of view. And I don't just see things in terms of aesthetics. In fact, I'm fairly blind to aesthetics. It's more about functionality with me. And, you know, if you've watched this channel to any degree, you'll know that I'm always talking about functionality and practical value. And, you know, it's like, what kind of flooring does it have? I don't care. You know, I don't. Whenever you have early access to a video game, you know, players tend to lump up into 2 groups. And those 2 groups are the people who are just playing it just to play it, right? Sort of like if you were to get access to WoW Classic, you might start playing WoW Classic just, you know, just for the experience, just for the fun of it. But other players get into early access for very practical reasons, because they're looking at it and they're trying to plan out their route to success in the game. They're trying to understand, okay, these are the rules, these are the realities. How do I use this? How do I manipulate my way through this as quickly as possible, as it most, either in terms of being time efficient, or in terms of where is the real hidden value here? What are the things that we're not seeing in terms of the screenshots or the videos that they show us? There's a lot of people out there who kind of look at early access game and they're like, I'm not even going to bother, just let me know when it's done, type thing. But those are generally the players who, when they get into the game, they're always asking the questions, where do I find this? Where do I get that? How do I do this? How do I do that? I don't know. Whereas the players who go in and get actual experience and get all those learning experiences out of the way tend to be very successful in the beginning. I mean, it's sort of like if you were to take any MMO that you've ever played over the years, any game, it doesn't matter, and you were to say, if I knew everything that I know now and I was to go back to that game, back in time to that game day one, and take everything that I learned, how would my experience be different? Well, it would be wholly different. It'd be entirely different. Think of the things that you could achieve. Think of all the pitfalls that you ran into along the way, all the mistakes, all the wasted money or gold or ISK or whatever that you spent following evolutionary dead ends, so to speak, in terms of gameplay. All the mistakes that you made that you could avoid. All the things that you could have, had you have known about them, you could have taken advantage of them and gotten yourself to a much more successful point a lot earlier. And that's when I look at ships like this. I always kind of look at them as these are kind of like end state ships, like once you've gotten successful, once you've gotten to a point where money isn't a concern, then something like this becomes practical. It becomes a good idea, right? It becomes a fun idea. Why not, But getting yourself to that point is probably more of the primary concern. And what I see in a lot of these comments and a lot of these threads that a lot of people are saying, what's the point? What does it do? What is it for? And a lot of people are kind of concerned around that. And I think that they're now starting to, in a weird way, come to the realization that these ships aren't practical. They are showpieces. They are kind of like, I am successful. I'm so successful that I don't have to worry about these things anymore. And that's kind of where these ships tend to fit in. Yeah, there's VIP transport missions, but I think that realistically, as a career, it's probably not going to be all that interesting of a career. And I think that a lot of people are starting to now confront that reality, and they're understandably concerned in regards to these ships. And when you look at the anniversary sale, I think that it's a great time to kind of really kind of look at your hangar and be a harsh critic of your own opinions and kind of sit there and say, what is the real value here? I mean, what is really going to help propel me forward, propel me to a state where something like a Phoenix or something like a 600i or an 890 jump becomes justifiable? Because in the practical sense, in the near term, these ships are going to be very hard to justify, especially in the game in a state now, especially in early access. You're not going to see a big push of, we got to get these luxury VIP missions in place. No, they're going to probably have an eye more towards things like data running, salvage, improvements to mining, exploring different ideas like refining fuel and refueling. These are going to be things that are going to definitely come first. And so while these ships look pretty damn cool, they're probably not going to receive all that much attention versus much more key aspects of the universe. So they're probably not going to see a lot more development. Maybe down the road, VIP missions are going to be very rewarding, very lucrative. But over the near term, they're essentially going to be a dead ship for a while. And so maybe it's something that you want to revisit a year from now or 2 years from now down the road. But right now, maybe you want to look at some much more practical options that you can get a lot more enjoyment out of in the present universe. And I think that a lot of the complaints around these ships are symptoms of that problem, which is it's very hard to see the actual value of these ships. So, I mean, that's my opinion on them. I've never really seen the value of the luxury ships in the Star Citizen universe, but once again, I may not be the person who's in the right position to judge, because I've always been a very practical and pragmatic person, and so these kind of ostentatious ships have always been something that I really have never really spoken to me. So I might just be the wrong person to ask. Anyways, that's my point of view. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.